What's happening, homies? I think the mic is muted. Let's see here. Oh, wow. Look at that. Huh? Let me know if you can hear me. I'm not quite sure if you can. I think I broke the microphone somehow. Maybe. Let me know, bros. I guess I'll stop the screen share. There we go. Okay. How y'all doing? Trying to see if the mic is working. Let me know if you can hear me. Sweet. Thank you, Chad. All right. That's weird. It said I lost the microphone connection, but apparently I did not. Whew. That is some strong tasting water. Okay. Let's see. Let's get started. So question number one comes in. Oh man, see now the dang things move. Hang on. I'm using this thing called StreamYard. Really like this app. They don't pay me to endorse them. I just like them. They're fantastic. Okay. Here's a question from a YouTube user named Ignite the Box. Just going to let that hang for a minute. Fantastic name. Don't know what it means. Sounds funny. I'm going to go ahead and think it's funny. Okay. The question is, how do you script your videos? And the answer is, I personally don't script my videos, but I do have a framework. All right. So I'll talk about the frameworks for you for a minute. So before you ever shoot a video, whether it's any sort of educational pitch or direct pitch or story-based pitch or whatever, you got to do a little bit of homework first. And this is like minimum viable homework because nobody wants to do homework. So first thing you got to do is understand the desired outcome that you want the viewer to take, right? And so usually that's going to be a sale, but it could be a registration or whatever. So that's step number one. And before you ever commit word to paper or just start making stuff up on camera, which is often what I do, is just make stuff up on camera. So that's thing number one. What do you want them to do? Thing number two is you want to come up with all of the reasons why they should do it, the benefits to it. All right. And thing number three is you got to think of all the reasons why they would not do it. So if you've got those three things in order, then you really have the winning, or at least the good raw materials for a pitch, right? And so usually the framework that I like to follow is going to be a core framework surrounded by some other types of frameworks. So the core framework is always this. Here's what I got. Here's what it'll do for you. Here's what I want you to do next. All right. And I learned that from John Carlton. The surrounding frameworks could be, all right, am I going to wrap that pitch with education, for example? And so that would be a tutorial style video. So in the tutorial style video, I still keep all of the original raw materials in mind, right? So I know, let's say, for example, that the tutorial style VSL, the objective of that is to sell, I don't know, a cooking class. I know that the viewer, their primary objective is to learn how to grill a steak without burning it. All right. And I know that a lot of the reasons why they wouldn't buy the class might be they've tried in the past and they've ruined the steak. The steak has come out tough. They don't think they have a good enough grill, whatever. Right. So at the core of the framework is always, here's what I got. Here's what it'll do for you. Here's what I want you to do next. But now let's say I'm taking that educational framework and wrapping that around the core framework. In that case, it would be something like this. In this video today, we're going to talk about how to, and then insert the big thing they want to do, right? And so this is going to be how to grill the perfect steak. And then we might say, and you're going to find this video useful, even if, and then insert stuff they've experienced frustration with before, right? And so that would be your intro block right there. Then for the educational piece, usually like to give three big picture pointers. Here's what I've learned, by the way. It goes against one's desire to be helpful. So it's difficult to do this from a desire to be helpful standpoint. But the more you teach in your educational video sales letters, the less you sell typically. And I wish that were not the case, because I tend to overteach, and therefore I have to follow up with people 9 million times by email. So you want to stick with very big picture concepts, and then you take your core framework, which is here's what I got, here's what it'll do for you, here's what I want you to do next, and you bolt it onto that first educational bit. And so that's the way I go about creating videos. And I've never scripted them for myself. It's very difficult for me to do that. Usually what I'll do is, number one, just turn on the camera and start yapping and hope that it comes out okay, which is rare, but often I'll test it anyway. And if it works, I just leave it running. Or I will write keynote slides, and I'll just have the big picture ideas in the keynote slides, and I'll press record and film, a traditional desktop video sales letter using PowerPoint or Keynote. And as I'm going through those slides, elaborate on the big picture concepts and hope that it works out. And it usually works out okay. And that's the way I do it. I like to keep it as simple as possible. So here's one from Shay Patrick Vitartas. Dude, I'm sorry if I messed up the pronunciation of I got the first two words right. First two names right. Shay Patrick Vitartas? I don't know. Sorry, man. My first and last name are both 4 letters. What are you going to do? Okay, hang on. He says, basically, what do you recommend for book funnels in terms of advertising, right? Specifically referencing my intent-based branding methodology. And so I will give that answer regardless of methodology. So if the objective of the campaign is to sell a book, you first have to look at what is the objective of selling the book. Do you want to make an immediate profit during that? Do you want them to consume the book and then become fans and then buy more stuff later? What's the end result? And the reason I ask is because if you look at a traditional book funnel within the context of like the internet marketing world or whatever, it's very rare that it's, okay, here's a book, see you later. Usually there's the book, and then there's the order bump, and then there's the 7.5 million one-click upsells, and then there's a webinar at the end of it or something that sells the main thing. So prior to running any ads to a book funnel, I would make sure all of those pieces are in place. I would also look at where all of those pieces will break and build plugs, I guess, metaphorically speaking, to plug the holes in the inevitably leaky bucket. All right. So I still haven't answered the question, and this is deliberate. I will in a minute, but I don't want to have someone sending traffic to a broken machine. So a book funnel, let's say you're following the traditional model, which is book, order bump, a couple of one-click upsells, and then a webinar. First thing we got to look at is, where's that thing going to break? All right. It's going to break, number one, at a cart abandonment. So they start to order and they don't. It's also going to break where they see the first one-click upsell, but they don't take it. It's also going to break where they see the second one-click upsell and they don't take it. It's also going to break where they have the opportunity to register for the back-end webinar and they don't register. It's also going to break where they register and don't show up. It's also going to break where they register, they show up, but they leave early. And finally, it's going to break where they register, show up, stay, see the pitch, and don't buy. And by break, I don't mean like technically break. I mean that this is where people can drop out of the funnel, right? So if you go into this situation knowing, okay, here are all the places where the bucket can metaphorically have holes in it, I would strongly recommend plugging those holes first before spending money on the ads. And it's very, very simple to do. So number one, first place it could possibly break is cart abandon. They start to order, they don't. Let's put a deadline sequence in there to drive them back, give them an extra bonus or something to complete the order. Second place it's going to break is they don't take some of the upsells. Well, with solutions like ClickFunnels and Infusionsoft using Plus This and probably Kartra as well, and probably all of them, you can now email people directly to a one-click upsell link, and they can go back and purchase that one-click upsell. So I would put little deadline sequences for the one-click upsells, and then I would do the same for every other little part of the funnel. That means that as you send people to buy the book, you're going to get the maximum revenue you can out of every book buyer. And the reason I'm telling you this is because let's say your book is $6, just randomly choosing the number $6 there. It's probably, depending on the market that you're selling to, it's probably going to cost you anywhere from $15 to $35 to sell that $6 book. So you've got to have all that other stuff in place in order to not go super negative, right? So now let's talk about how to run the ads. Here's how I like to run ads. This is what I advise everybody to do. Write an ad or two that you think's pretty good. Don't spend all day on it. I know there's like all these theories, the ad should be like an article, or no, the ad should be short and punchy, or no, the ad should be a long form, benefit laden, almost like a sales letter, or no, the ad should be controversial, and it should be shareable, and it should go viral. And the answer to that is, are they right or wrong? Is no, none of us know, because you just need to run the stupid ad. So what I recommend is just write a couple of them that are probably okay, right? And then instead of doing what most people do, which is to try to find the perfect customer avatar and do the perfect targeting, what you do is you go out and find yourself like 10 or 15 audiences that, I don't know, might work. And then you show those okay ads to them, but you only spend a couple of bucks a day per audience. And you turn that sucker on and you walk away. And you walk away for about 4 days. And it's a very difficult 4 days because you're going to want to hit refresh on your stats roughly 30 million times. But don't. Just go away and let the machine run. When you come back 4 days later, you'll see that probably, this is generally the case, most of the audiences, nobody bought anything, or they didn't sign up, or whatever the objective is. In this case, it's the book, right? And some of them did. And so what you do is you turn off the ones that didn't work, and then you leave the ones that worked on, and you increase the budgets, and then you proceed with the next level, which would be scaling that. And so that's what I recommend everybody to do, regardless of whether they're using intent-based branding or whatever. And the reason I would start with that, start directly with conversion-based ads, is because even if someone clicks on one of your ads and they don't purchase, or they engage with it, or they share it, or whatever, you can still retarget them. So you're still building that invisible retargeting list regardless. So anyway, long answer to a relatively simple question, but the things we do to get out of having to write copy. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so this is from Henrik. And Hendrik says that he's running some ads and he's not getting any sales. And to that, I reply, welcome, sir, to the club. And so I don't really understand the question, because it says, is it only sales conversion that count, or should I check for some other stats? I'm not getting sales, as you can probably guess. Actually, I do understand the question. What am I talking about? It's a perfectly normal question. So I think, like, in summary, what do I do? I'm running ads. I'm not getting sales. What do I do? And his question of, should I check for some other stats, is very smart. So here's the diagnostic checklist to go through. I guess, like, you could call this what to do if the ads are not working. All right. So the first thing you want to do in your checklist is make sure that you've got enough traffic to draw conclusions. Okay. So if you've run an ad and you've got 70 visitors to your site or something and nothing has happened yet, that's not enough data to draw any conclusion. Even if you made like 10 sales, it doesn't mean, oh my gosh, it's the end, honey, go place an order for a Gulfstream, we're going to be rich. It's not enough data. So let's say, okay, you are getting plenty of traffic, and so there's enough statistically relevant data to support the theory that something is wrong. Second part of the checklist is to make sure that the objective of the campaign, and in this case, I'm specifically talking about Facebook, make sure that the campaign objective is set to conversions. So a lot of times I'll work with folks and they'll be like, dude, I got, 14,000 visitors and 3 people bought my $4 product. What's wrong? And we go and we look at the campaign, and they ended up setting up a campaign where the objective was just traffic, and it wasn't conversions. Well, if you tell Facebook just to send you traffic, they're going to send you a totally different caliber person. They're going to send people who historically click things, but not people who historically convert. So that's the second part on the checklist. Checklist number 1, do I have enough data? Checklist number 2, is the ad objective set up correctly? All right, so now let's assume those 2 things are okay. So now we have to start looking at the moving pieces of the campaign itself. And this is usually going to be a post-click experience that I'm talking about. So if we were to use a classic internet funnel, for example, which is opt-in, see a pitch, get some emails, driving back to the pitch. Let's say that's the funnel, right? Well, now we can start diagnosing, okay, where is this going wrong? And the first thing we want to look at is the ad itself. Is it getting clicks, right? And so, and really, is it getting clicks at an acceptable cost per click? So assuming you're not in some incredibly competitive market like mesothelioma or something like that, you shouldn't be having an extremely high cost per click. Generally speaking, within the internet marketing market, which is very competitive, and I'm competing against some of the best in the world, I'll fluctuate from $1, sometimes less, up to maybe $3 or $4 per click. And these are on conversion-based ads, not like traffic objectives or whatever, or video views or anything like that. So let's check that off the box. Say, okay, well, yeah, I'm getting, this seems to be okay. Now, if it doesn't seem okay, if you're paying a lot per click and if nobody's clicking, it's going to be one or both of these factors, or actually 3. There are 3 things that can affect this. Thing number 1 is the audience, right? So if I'm selling steak and I've targeted vegans and no one's clicking the ad, and therefore, every click that I get, it costs me $20 because so few people actually click it. Well, it's because I targeted vegans to sell steak. Now, I know that's an overly simplistic example. So, but you do got to make sure, right, that your targeting's not like totally dumb. The second thing will be the image. So if you have something that's like ew or whatever, then maybe you want to change that. And the third thing is going to be the copy in the ad. It's rarely going to be just the ad, right? But it's still worth checking. So now we move on to the next phase of the campaign itself, the post-click experience. So again, let's assume that the funnel is opt-in, see a pitch, get some emails that drive people back to the pitch. All right. So the first thing you look at is, okay, they're clicking, ads working. Are they opting in? And so if they're not opting in, then it doesn't mean everything's broken. It means you change the opt-in page. Well, let's say they are. Okay, cool. Well, they're opting in. So do most people who opt into something immediately make the purchase for the pitch they see after opting in? No. Right? So if they are, amazing. If they're not, probably not that big of a deal. That's why we follow up with them with email. So the first thing on your checklist is, do you have an aggressive email sequence to get them to go back and buy? And so if yes, now we look to see, are they doing 2 things? Are they opening the email? If they're not opening the email, they can't read and they can't click. So what do you got to do? Change the dang subject line, right? Leave everything else alone and let the thing run and see what happens. If they're opening and not clicking, it's the body copy. And then finally, if they're opening and if they're clicking and they're going to the sales page and they're still not buying, it's probably the sales page. And so that's all the stuff that you look at, right? And so anyone that were to tell you otherwise, like, oh, here's a blanket solution for this problem, is either brilliant and has figured out what no one else can, or just is oversimplifying it because they either don't know what they're talking about or they just want you to give them some money, or a combination of the 2. Okay, let's see here. This is an interesting question from TJ Gibson with a P. I almost said Gibson, sorry. TJ Gibson with a P. Hang on a minute. Of course, this is not vodka. I can't believe you guys would insinuate that. I'm so insulted. Good Lord, look how fit this guy is. Man, I look exactly like that, by the way, with my shirt off, which is why I keep the shirt on, because I don't want to intimidate people. Good gravy. All right. He says, if you were starting a social media agency from square one and didn't have proof yet, what would your lead gen strategy be? It'd be very, very simple. It would be to get them on the phone, give them a proposal, and see if they wanted to become a client. Like, everybody's got testimonials. I don't really think it matters. Like, I don't use testimonials in my marketing. Actually, I just started using it on my time to get sales funnel. And it's just people saying, I like the course. That's it. This was pretty good. We enjoyed it. So the only thing anybody cares about is, what can you do for me? So I would do this. I would set up a lead gen campaign using Facebook lead ads. I would target whoever I wanted to target. I would start with a local, incidentally, so you can go meet them if you have to. The opt-in bribe would be a PDF on how to get customers from social media. I would not worry too much about making that perfect, because I doubt they're going to read it, even though they opt in for it. It's just human nature. Don't make it bad, but don't spend like 20 years trying to make it perfect. You know what I mean? Don't drive yourself crazy over it. I know this to be true because when we sell books, we track how many people download the books that they buy. And so few people do that we've had to build a go download the book that you purchased email sequence just to get them to download the thing that they bought. So it's not like people are dumb. It's just the way it is. They're busy. All right. So we got the lead gen piece out of the way. I wouldn't expect them to do anything you tell them to do in the post PDF situation. So I wouldn't expect them to read it and be like, you're going to have a link in there to your website and call us for a free consultation. I wouldn't expect them to do that at all. They probably won't. So what I would do is I'd call them and I'd say something along the lines of like, hey, thanks for downloading the report on how to get customers from social media. I hope you enjoyed it. I just want to see if you have any questions, and specifically, are you running ads now? And is there anything we can help you with? And then they would say yes or no. And, most of them be like, no, just looking. You say, okay, see you later. And some would be like, yeah, man, I really need to get some customers from social media. And then you pitch them, right? And that's kind of the trick there. Nothing really elaborate, in my opinion. I would keep it very, very simple. And I think you'll be fine. Okay. Let's see here. All right. Okay. Danny Reed has I would love to show you the other comment above this from YouTube, but it's so morbidly inappropriate, but it's also hilarious. All right. So Danny, what's up, man? Very important. Tacos or burritos? I'm going with tacos, dude. Crunchy shell, old school. And that like super gross queso stuff that is only in Americanized Mexican restaurants, where it's like that plastic melted cheese material. I love that stuff. So old school crunchy shell tacos with that disgusting, not actual cheese stuff. That's what I would do for sure. Okay, let's see here. Man, the thing keeps moving. Sorry, guys. All right, here's Brian Silver. Any advice on how to learn to put a good course together? I finally feel like this is possible for me. I'm a legal recruiter and realize I have a ton of advice that would be helpful to young or new attorneys. Dude, here's what I would do if and I was you. All right, is I would put together a sales letter for a course, or probably really a webinar, because it's just easier to get people to register for it. And it's easier to do a webinar that does a pitch than it is to write a sales letter, at least in my opinion. Sales letters are very hard to do. And I would have these folks on. So the hook is whatever, I'm not quite sure what they want, what their objective is. So free webinar reveals how to achieve your objective as an attorney, right? And then you sell them on the course. And the way you sell them on the course is, look, I got this method that I'm pretty sure can help you get your objective as an attorney. I got to tell you, I've never taught it before. I'm not a famous guy or anything, but I've put together this class and I think you should take it. And here's how it's going to work. We're going to do it over Zoom. I'm going to teach you some stuff, and then you're going to ask me some questions, and I'm going to answer them. And if you miss one of these Zoom calls, it'll be recorded, and we'll put everything in a private Facebook group for you. So if you have questions or whatever, I can answer them for you, and that will help you. And the class is going to start on 2 weeks from today or whenever, and here's how much the price is. And again, I've never taught this in my life. I'm certain it'll help you, but in the event that you don't like it or whatever, I completely understand. So, of course, there's a money-back guarantee. And so that's literally how I would create the course. I would do it through the series of live Zoom calls. And then if it goes well, use those live Zoom calls as your actual digitally delivered, automated course material. Ain't no point in making it more complicated than it got to be. You know what I mean? Okay, let's see. Sam says, Frank, take some YouTube questions. I just did, sir. Let's see here. My man, Anthony Achituro, says a lot of B2B questions here. Have you tried LinkedIn ads? Dude, I have, and it didn't work. And I'm pretty sure it's because I didn't read the directions, and I spent like 35 minutes trying to figure it out. And then I spent like $200 and was like, So I don't know. Some folks are real good at it. I'm not, but that shouldn't be extrapolated to mean that LinkedIn ads don't work. I literally have no idea how to make them work and probably won't learn because I don't want to. Okay. Peter London says, your thoughts or subtitles or no subtitles in video ads? I think subtitles are a good idea. I don't have them because I don't feel like messing with it. There you go. Usually I'm like, hey, here's a video. Awesome. I'm going to run it as an ad. I should probably have subtitles put on it. Oh, but if I had to do that, I'd have to wait and wouldn't get the immediate gratification of seeing whether or not the ad worked. Therefore, I'm just going to run the ad without subtitles. Probably a better call to run subtitles. Like I don't watch videos on social with the sound on. I don't look at social anyway. I look at Instagram a little bit, but I don't think anybody does. So it's probably a better idea to turn on the subtitles. Okay, let's see here. Marco says, any advice about what ad to run to have people to apply to a webinar? Yeah. Okay, so this question is like, I'll rephrase it like this. I want to have someone do a certain thing. What should the ad say? All right, that's really what the question is saying. In this case, Marco's saying, I want to have people go to a webinar, register for a webinar. What should the ad say? The question could be, I want people to buy shoes. What should the ad say? Or I want people to convert to, the Heaven's Gate cult revised. What should my ad say? All right. And so it really doesn't matter what the thing is. Here is the simplest way to write an ad, which is read this if you want X result. All right. And I learned this in the airport. I was in the bookstore at the airport and I saw a book. It wasn't at the airport. It was at Forever 21. Because I was taking my daughters there to shop, and they had this, they got like a gift shop area there for the parents to stand around and wait for the kids to take 20,000 years to try things on. And there was a book there, and it was called Read This If You Want to Take Great Photographs, or something along those lines. And I was like, that's the greatest book title I've ever seen. It's just flat out dog whistle copy, meaning it's just calling right out to the perfect person. I did a little bit of research. Turns out the guy sold a whole bunch of them books, and he's got other ones like Read This If You Want to Take Great Pictures of People and things like that. So I was thinking, well, that should probably work pretty good for copy, right? So let's say you want to run an ad for a webinar, and the webinar is about how to grill steak, right? And so your ad would say, read this if you want to learn how to grill steak. Here are 3 ways to grill steak. If you really want to learn how to do it, go register for this webinar. All right. Or if you're looking for new shoes, read this. All right. And then the ad copy on social says, all birds are made out of like whatever trees, and they feel like socks, and they don't stink even if you wear them without socks. They're super comfortable and they're cheap. They're awesome. Like, which happens to be true. They're great shoes, by the way. And so really, really simple. In my opinion, the easier, the simpler, the more basic the copy is, the more direct, the better it works. If you look at David Ogilvy's ad for Rolls-Royce, it is a list of 13 characteristics that the car has. That's it. There's no story. There's no curiosity. There's no sensationalism. There's the statement that at 60 miles per hour, the loudest thing you can hear in the Rolls-Royce is the sound of the electric clock. And then it is the body copy of the ad is a list of 13 facts. Right. And so I really think that is not a panacea. It's not like this is the only way to write copy. But if you got to write something, And if you're not like John Carlton or Paris Lampolis or Gary Bencivenga or freaking Lawrence Bernstein or any of these unbelievably good copy people, then what you do is you write, read this if you want your dog to start barking at night, or to stop barking at night, rather. Like easy stuff like that works pretty good. Okay, let's see here. I think I'll take one more, and then I will go. Let's see here. It's an interesting question from Ken Cannon. Have you or any of your clients sold language learning? Yes, not me, but I've had customers do it, not clients I run ads for, but customers do it, and they do pretty good. Pretty good. All right, George Wickens, and now this will be the last one. He says, YouTube ads versus Facebook ads, what do you think are better? I ain't even know. I've run both. For me, Facebook is easier. I'm just more used to it, but that's literally an opinion. That is 100% anecdotal. Just one dude going, I don't know, I like this better. They say, the all-knowing they say that YouTube is infinitely more stable and more scalable than Facebook. So I just dropped my phone on purpose. So, they could be right. I don't know. All right, off I go. Thank you all so much for joining me on this Ask Your Homeboy. And I'll talk to y'all later. Y'all have a good weekend. Thank you very much. Be safe out there.